Were there ethnically sub-Saharan African soldiers in the German army during World War II? If you've played 2017's Call of Duty World War II, it may have been a bit puzzling to play as or fight against Africans in German uniform. But were they grasping at straws, or is there some truth to this myth? It's possible you've seen this picture, or this one before. They're both well-known photos, but what's the story behind them, and how often did something like this occur in the ranks of the German army? Let's find out the answers to this complicated question. Just hang on one moment before I continue this video. I'd like to address any Activision employees that may be watching this video. This is not a historical justification to make another game where Africans in the German army in World War II is a common occurrence. You'll just get flamed by both people that find this a ridiculous anachronism and fragile gaming journalists who just can't even. Plus you have bigger things to worry about, like making good games. During the war, the Germans would pragmatically embrace anti-colonialist messaging in an effort to cause unrest among the non-white European colonial subjects of France and Britain. Germany saw some mixed success with this effort. There was never a successful large-scale pro-Axis colonial revolt, but the British were forced to divert resources to small colonial uprisings in places where there was a danger of an uprising. One such a place would be Iraq. In April of 1941, Iraqi nationalists overthrew the British puppet government and contacted Germany for support. Neither Germany nor Italy were able to offer serious help, and the uprising was defeated in less than 2 months. A small number of pro-Axis Arabs were able to flee through Vichy French Syria to Axis-occupied Greece, where the first units of what would become the Free Arabian Legion were formed. In summer of 1942, Germany would turn to recruiting prisoners of Allied colonial units to bolster their numbers. This was a common practice in the Wehrmacht. Many German units would have former POWs in the ranks that joined it because they truly despised their colonial masters or to seek better conditions as a soldier versus as a prisoner. At this point in the story of the Free Arabian Legion, we start seeing the first ethnically sub-Saharan African soldiers, albeit in small numbers. These men were recruited from units of French colonial subjects, but not in any significant number to form their own dedicated African unit. Units of the Free Arabian Legion would see heavy fighting throughout the war. One battalion would be sent to Tunisia in early 1943, but the rest of the Legion would stay in the Balkans to fight Greek and Yugoslav partisans. As the Soviets swept through the Balkans in the latter stages of the war, the unit would be badly mauled, especially in the Battle of Belgrade in autumn of 1944. Survivors of the Legion would surrender to Soviet or Yugoslav partisans in May of 1945. Unfortunately, little is known about the identities of the African troops in the Free Arabian Legion, their names, and what became of them if they survived to be a prisoner of war. If the treatment of any other Allied citizens in the German army is indicative, they would have received a harsh punishment, possibly sentenced to death. While the tale of the Free Arabian Legion tells the story of some African Wehrmacht soldiers, it doesn't tell the whole story. I'm going to talk about a different kind of person now, actually a specific person, who likely shares a story with others like him. Hans Hauch was one of what the Nazis dubbed the Rhineland Bastards, a son of a white German mother and an African colonial soldier of the French army who was on occupation duty in the Rhineland following the years of the First World War. Hans was born in 1920, and in 1933 would become part of the Hitler Youth, which was compulsory, and later on in 1941 would be drafted into the Wehrmacht. Hans would survive the war, during which he was promoted once and wounded 5 times. Hans would surrender to the Soviets in 1945 and be released from captivity in 1949. From the story of Hans Hauch, we can infer that there were probably others like him, but it's hard to give a number. Hans seems to be an exception among mixed African Germans, as they would have faced discrimination, and ultimately only a small number, like Hans, would fight in the German military. Overall, these are very fringe stories, but interesting stories, of something quite rare, and again, addressing Activision employees should in no way be treated as a norm. Over 12 million served in the Wehrmacht during World War II. And of that 12 million, it could be as low as a few hundred to a couple thousand men of full or partial sub-Saharan African descent that served. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you liked the video. I plan on making more in the future. Until next time, I'll see you around.